We did it, team. I've got to thank you more than me. I haven't really done a fat lot. 15k subs today. Thank you very much. Big thumbs up from me. As a treat, you get a mailbox. I know we do it every week, but just accept it. Please accept it. But no, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciated it. Put a smile on my face this morning. Awesome job. Especially considering what's going on with my team at the moment. And the fact that Romain Grosjean's probably got 7 races left in his Formula 1 career. Yeah, that cheered me up just a little bit. Welcome back to the Mailbox, your weekly chance to ask me questions about anything you want. So much so, our final question today is absolutely nothing to do with Formula 1, but it's a little bit of fun. Audience participation, as always, for the final question. But again, if you've got any questions for the future, put them down in the comments below. Let's crack on with question 1. Do you think Formula E has become a place for Formula 1 rejects? Alex, you're putting me in a difficult situation here. A very spicy question. Very nice. Thank you very much. Right, let's focus on the matter of hand. Formula E is going into its 6th season. Formula 1, let's do some quick maths, is in its 69th season? Really? Or 70th this year? We'll say 70th. Yeah, so Formula 1, and this is something I always have to bring up when I talk about Formula E. Formula 1, you can't take away the history. And that's something at the moment that, okay, you can complain about Formula E's engine. You can complain about the sound. You can complain about street circuits. You can complain about all of that. Fair play. But what you've got to admit is Formula 1 has the history. And at the moment, considering Formula E's in its 6th year, it still doesn't have the pulling power of Formula 1. It's not the pinnacle of motorsport. So even I, someone who loves Formula E, has to accept that. So the question itself is do Formula 1 rejects go to Formula E? Generally, yes. Because I personally feel, and this is a very, very subjective question, I personally feel that now Formula E is the second best. Okay, Formula 2, I think if you're a young up-and-coming driver, fair play. And also, if you do a full season of Formula 1, you can't go back to Formula 2. But I think if you're someone like a Felipe Massa, like a Stoffel Van Dorn, I mean, all of the champions of Formula E, Nelson Piquet Jr., De Grassi, Buemi and Verne, all drivers who didn't really find a good enough place in Formula 1 or were surplus to requirements, let's say, in Formula 1, so had to take a chance in Formula E, and they've done really well. So yes, if you want to put it that way, but then also, I think Formula E sometimes, and okay, you can say Formula 1 rejects if you want, sometimes there's just not enough seats in Formula 1. Look at Esteban Ocon. Look at even Stoffel Van Dorn. Many people felt he's good enough for Formula 1. He's had to sort of find a top seat in Formula E, which we're expecting today to be announced as Mercedes. Is that a better option for him? Because otherwise, he's only going to be at the back with a team like Williams if he's really lucky. So I can see why some drivers have to go to Formula E. Maximilian Gunter in Formula E this year. I don't know if he is quite Formula 1 standard, but another brilliant example actually. Red Bull's current Formula 1 driver, Alex Albon. He was signed up for Nissan last year. Sometimes there's just those drivers that slip through the cracks. I know many of you really rate Nick de Vries. Looks like he's going to be signed for Mercedes as well today. Is he good enough for Formula 1? Well, arguably every Formula 2 world champion should be good enough for Formula 1. And looks like Nicholas Latifi, who's going to finish second in the championship, is going to get a seat in Formula 1. So sometimes politics play the game for you and you don't have a choice. But I think at the moment, yes, more often than not, if a Formula 1 driver retires, Formula E is a very attractive option. And Formula E is growing, so I can't blame the drivers, but yes, I agree with your question. Nick asks question 2, the title of today's video, for how long do you think Mercedes domination will last? Another spicy question, very nice indeed. Thank you, Nick. Mercedes domination. Beginning of 2014, I think, to be honest with you, most of us, I mean, I know some of you have only just started watching Formula 1 over the past couple of years, and I know Netflix Drive to Survive has got plenty of people interested in the sport, but back in 2014, when we went from V8 engines to V6 hybrid engines, so you often hear people talking about the hybrid era that started after 2014. When Mercedes started winning, I can't deny, I thought it was a real breath of fresh air. I think most people did, because we'd gone through a period where even I, at the time, thought it was Red Bull dominance. I mean, many of us look back at it now, and that was probably a bit of an extreme statement, especially considering 2012, 2010. But at the time, Vettel was winning all the world championships, Red Bull likewise with the constructors. We were a bit lucky at the time, a little bit greedy perhaps, because now, 2014, Hamilton champion, Mercedes champion. 2015 the same. 2016, Mercedes champion, Rosberg champion. 2017, 18 and looks like 19, Hamilton champion, Mercedes champion. And fair enough, it's a period of domination. And you know what? When some people just tell me, look, Dan, I've just had enough of Formula 1 at the moment. It's just a little bit predictable. Which at the moment, okay, the last 6 races have been on fire. But to be fair, Mercedes is still comfortably in the lead of the championship. And the beginning 5 or 6 races of the year, maybe even more, 7, were Mercedes dominating? Yes, they were. So I'm looking to next year. It's not going to be, what's the saying? Evolution, not revolution. That's the saying that the F1 word loves to say. I like that one. Yes, evolution, not revolution. So next year, I think it's probably going to be a similar kind of pattern. The only thing I'm holding out for, especially with next year, I'm expecting it to be another Hamilton championship, to be honest with you. But Ferrari have proved this year they've got a really good engine. Red Bull have proved this year. Honda have made gains. They've proved they've got a really good chassis. Next year, I think Mercedes are going to be in it. But 2021, just like back in 2014, that's going to be the time for change. And it's so hard to predict after 21. Engines aren't changing, so Mercedes can't take an advantage early. They've only just designed the cars, so 2021 for me is the earliest. Fingers crossed, eh? Right, sorry Mercedes fans and Hamilton fans. T-Dub. Sorry, I always butcher names. No surprise. Question 3. If you're sceptical about McLaren ever winning a race again, so that was in response to last week's episode where we spoke about McLaren and their chances of ever becoming champion again, and Carlos Sainz, could he become world champion? Back to the question, sorry. Who else out of the midfield has a chance of winning in the future? Good question. Thank you very much. All really good ones today. I think the standard of questions recently has gone up a notch. Although we've got 2 more to go and not the best standard of questions, but they gave me a chuckle. Back to the question, Dan. Stop avoiding it. Stop being a politician. In the midfield, we've got 6 teams. 7 teams. Good maths. 7 teams. 3 of them, arguably B teams. Maybe 2. Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, Williams a real push, if you want to call them a Mercedes B team. Not quite at the moment. They would hate it if I said that. But Toro Rosso especially, I don't see them winning. Sorry, boys. Very unlikely. I've thought about this a few times, how bizarre it would be. It's happened to me on the Formula 1 game where Toro Rosso has overtaken Red Bull. And I thought, nah, that's far too unrealistic. They're the junior team. If that ever happened, there'd be chaos. So Toro Rosso, although they have won Grand Prix in the past, or a Grand Prix, and they've been on the podium this year, unlikely. Alfa Romeo, also a similar kind of story. Although they're practically still Sauber. Sorry if you can hear that playing in the background. That is not mine, sadly. Alfa Romeo, similar kind of story. Ferrari B team, a little bit loosely connected, a little bit like Haas. I don't see Haas winning either, which hurts me. Those guys, Haas more likely than Alfa. Alfa, like I say, like Toro Rosso, B team, no. Haas, practically an independent team. If they became a works team, which we've spoke about in the past, I think there's potential there. Plenty of money being invested. I think they're looking long term to stay in Formula 1. At the moment, they're just trying to be stable in that midfield, which they're not doing. McLaren, we spoke about them last week. I think it's possible they could get back to the front. Racing Point as well, with the funds they're getting from Lawrence Stroll and his consortium of business boys and girls. Potential. Lots of money in that car and improvement slowly as the year's gone on. But I think the most likely would be Renault. Really strong driver lineup this year and next year. More money will be pumped in. Yeah, I think that's probably the safest bet to say Renault. But Haas as well, maybe a bit of bias. I think maybe 10 years down the line, if they can sort out a deal, I don't know, with a BMW, a Chevrolet, whatever, I think they'll be pretty well placed. Okay, question 4, and also, to be honest with you, question 5, because this is, you know, a 15k special, I thought I probably should include some more personal questions, because some of you tell me off for that sometimes. Some of you aren't interested, so if you're not, thank you for watching. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one. But Alex Degu, good friend. He's not very good on the F1 game, but I'll answer his question for him. So, will you go to the British Grand Prix next year? Far too many of you that I'm comfortable with ask me about this. I suppose that's nice. The answer at the moment is no. I'm not really planning on doing it next year. That being said, I wasn't planning on doing it this year until the very last minute where I ended up going. So, I'm not at the moment, to be honest. And again, I'm in a very privileged position. Obviously, doing YouTube has presented so many awesome opportunities, and was the reason I got to go to the British Grand Prix, was because I had a really good few months in the build-up to it. So, obviously, Grand Prix are expensive. And I know, and this is where I'm really trying to tread carefully here, because I know maybe 5 or 6 years ago, there was no way I was ever even getting a sniff at going to a Grand Prix, because they're that expensive. Will I go to the British Grand Prix again? Yes, absolutely loved it. I've been twice. I've also been to Spa, which I always bang on about because Grosjean got a podium back in 2015, but I've been there. But to me, if I do go again next year, which of course I'd love to, I'd like to go somewhere new. So of course, I sometimes say this, but I'll ask you now, if you've ever been to a Grand Prix and you absolutely loved it, and it's not Spa or Silverstone, let me know, because I'm really considering most of them on the calendar. Most of you know I'm a student, so fitting it in with that calendar is a little bit difficult. So most of the European leg I'd really like to do, and I've said a few times that I've never been to Spain in general, and I'd love to go to the Spanish Grand Prix. Maybe not the most exciting, but for me that's just somewhere I'd love to go. Looking at Monza this weekend, incredible scenes. Although being a British fan there, especially a Haas fan, I was the only one at Silverstone, so going to Monza I'd probably be the only Haas fan again, but that looked incredible. Obviously, some tracks a little bit further afield are going to be more pricey once again, which I already mentioned. Formula 1 Grand Prix are just ridiculous to go to, and that's why I went to Rome this year. Obviously, again, if you keep up to date with more of my Formula E stuff, you will know I went by myself to Rome, got a media pass. Still bizarre that I got a media pass. Hoping to do the same this year, and I'll be going to the British E-Prix. So there you go, Alex, if that helps you out. I know quite a few content creators are going to the Formula E race in London this year. I've only been to London once as well. Not very well travelled, apparently. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Maybe as well, I know Chainbear went to the New York E-Prix, and that's something that Formula E have invited me to, so I might very well do that as well. So, Formula E for me is the more affordable. I also get to go behind closed doors, behind the scenes, which is, for me at the moment, more, I was going to say a bigger incentive, but then Formula 1, when you're there, the buzz, the atmosphere is awesome. And that's something where if I went to another race, I'd still want that. So probably, none of you needed to know all that, but hey, a little bit of fun. Final question, audience participation. Told you it was a load of rubbish, but I had when Owen put this question up last week, I responded. And first of all, how do I feel about Spider-Man leaving the MCU? Haha. I said I was gutted. That's not really why I put this question in. But I thought, you know what? 15k special. People always ask questions about my personal life, which I'm cool with. Don't get me wrong, and I try and respond in the comments. But sometimes I think, you know, well, I can't really put it in a Formula 1 video. But because it's a special occasion, you've got to deal with it. I'm sorry. You're going to have to deal with it. So, first of all, Spider-Man leaving the MCU. I like Spider-Man, one of my preferred Avengers, although Thor is my boy. That being said, not the biggest MCU fan. That's why I'm leaving it open, because I want to know what other fandoms have we got out there at the moment. If we got bronies, no thanks. We got believers, no thanks. I am a bit of a Star Wars boy. Personally, I do love my Star Wars, not my Star Trek. Looking forward to The Rise of Skywalker. Bit of a Potterhead. Quite like my Harry Potter. I mean, Formula 1, of course, and racing, for me, is leaps and bounds ahead. But I also know fair chunk about Star Wars. Looking forward to The Mandalorian. MCU. I've seen most of the MCU films, except the Hulk, which, to be honest, doesn't really count. I think you're understanding now. If you met me in real life, you could argue I'm a bit of a nerd. Didn't think I'd be talking about this today. But no, I want to know what fandoms we've got out there. Of course, we've got your Roman Grosjean fan clubs. I should say, it's just me. The Grosjean army, that's obviously a big part of my life as well. But I thought it'd be a little bit of fun. 15k special to have a chat about that. Also, while we're just on this note, I feel this is a time at the moment just to have a little spiel. You can see a minute left on the video, so if you want to leave now, awesome. Thanks for being here. But I just wanted to say thank you very much. We've had an awesome summer so far in 2019. And I know the summer's practically over now, but almost 2,500 of you have joined in just August alone. So welcome to the team. As always, it's really awesome. And again, it's giving me brand new opportunities. If you didn't catch the Formula E documentary I was able to do when I worked with some of the guys at Formula E to try and get that out for you. First of all, it's very long, so I understand if you don't want to, but also just for me to have that on my channel, really proud moment, and things like that I wouldn't be able to do if you guys didn't give me continued support. So thank you so much, as always. I'll leave it on this note. Roman Grosjean, only 7 races left, so if I get emotional in some of these videos, apologies. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you are new, first of all, if you've just listened to all that, feel free to subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.